Oh, by the way, I'm so sorry.
Ah, here it is. Hey, man.
Yo, yo, hey, party people. Hey, or I guess just party person.
It's your party me.
Yeah, just party you.
Still in Tijuana?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
that
dude.
the Aura Libre office?
Yeah, dude. Oh my God, this office is like, it's some kind of mix between Google and Costco. So,
That was really well put, man. I mean, I do know what Costco is.
yeah,
That's funny.
it's really nice. It's a pretty sweet spot. And he said that you could come by anytime.
Yeah, nice. It's great that you brought George to DEF CON.
Yeah,
So we know him.
we got so lucky with that.
Hey guys.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Oh, Max, I'm glad you could make it.
Hey Max.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you great.
What's up? So many people in the chat. I don't know what's going on, but it's crazy.
Dude, me neither.
Exploded.
Yeah. We'll see if Jitsi can handle this. It's gonna be serious. Hey, Danny. Oh, we got Deem. Nice. Oh, hey, Jeff.
Hey Jeff.
Oh,
Hey, you're all.
there's some sparkly jumpers you've got, man.
Yeah,
Jeff, you're like this. Yeah, but you know you're sideways.
You're sideways.
like-
That's why we're looking like that.
Yeah, now it's okay.
You can stay sideways. It's okay. You look like you're ready for F Cape Town.
Yeah. True.
Oh, nice. Hey, Spunette. I'm glad you could make it. You're muted. It's a cool though. What do we got? We got. Let's see. I assume people will start a little late. Notice I have this document. Feel free to add some things if there's some things that you guys want to make sure we touch on. Just add it to the agenda. Number 6 is waiting for somebody to put something down.
Where's that doc, Griff?
Oh, the doc is in. Well, I'll just paste it on the side.
Yeah, it's in the chat. I posted it.
It's in the oh, Kai is ahead of the game.
Oh yeah, here it is. Okay.
By the way, this is being live streamed to give us transparency. Oh, hey, what's up, Mike?
Hey, Griff, how's it going?
Living the dream, you know, same old, same old. Let's see. So we'll just wait 3 more minutes and let the late people show up.
That might well be the biggest Jitsi conference we had so far. Amazing, actually.
Yeah, well, and we're missing half the people, so we'll see.
True, with so many.
Yeah. Dude, I've been impressed with Jitsi sometimes. You know, like the Argon, we've been doing some like all devs call for Argon, and I think we had well over 20 people in one, and it worked amazingly. Let's see. Let's see if we can get Abby in here.
Yeah, it looks like Abby's coming in a minute.
Okay. Good morning.
Hey guys.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. It's party time.
Okay, we got Roberto, we got Abby. I feel like we got most of the big team leads. So let's get this party started. Well, okay, so thank you guys for all coming so early in the morning for me and probably normal times for you. I'm pretty excited, man. I can't believe the team that we have going for, or the teams that we have going for this. We got some crazy skills. So I'm pretty sure that we can sweep this thing. The agenda is in that Google Doc. Feel free to add something to the agenda if you want to make sure we hit it. My main goal is to just kind of like explain my idea of this project and what we're trying to do and how we're going to divide and conquer. Just because this is my idea doesn't mean that we have to do it this way. But I will say that I am working on a real project, and I'm hoping that a lot of you will end up joining me on this real project where it's like ends up being a real job. And so trying to stick to the design that Zargam, the block science guy, comes up with will allow us to do the real work that we're going to do anyway, and then try to implement it in this hackathon that's in, a month and a half. So if we veer from the design, that's definitely okay. But there will be work that we can build off of, and then for a lot of us, that this will actually help us come around, like kind of doing it once before we do it for real, kind of a thing. So that's the general idea, and this is especially important for teams 1, 2, and 4. Team 3 is like the meta project that will be like, we'll follow a lot of what the Pando guys were talking about, and just kind of having like a commons of commons, whereas team 1, 2, and 4 are just building out one commons. Although I don't really know what team 3, I think Roberto should describe more about what team 3 is doing after I get through team 1, 2, and 4. Is there anything that I should talk about before going into what the 4 teams are doing? Okay. Powering forward. Okay, so building the token bonding curve is team 1. Pretty obvious, make the token. The goal is that we have a curve, ideally of the design that Zargam comes up with, and there's a Google Doc in the Google Doc that we use for Denver. I added a bunch more notes to kind of go deeper into the design in that doc for what Zargam wants to do and what we hacked together last week. So that's definitely worth looking at. I hope that we can actually, in general, without going into the dynamics, just like the larger scope, I'm hoping that we can actually try to create a smart contract that builds this curve out. That would be the dream, and that we practice using like Taylor expansion or something to make the curve, actually model the curve so the price can be predicted. But there will be a lot of work done on this by Zargam. So we'll probably be able to use like his simulations that he's going to make in SimCAD and like some Python scripts. And I know that the ODYSSEY hackathon like gets boners for that kind of shit. So the more that we can use the simulation stuff and make it look like we're not just coming up with this out of our ass, but we're actually like using designs in like a robust engineering style way, they will love it. No one else can do that. So yeah,
that was actually their requirements, was to have the models and simulations and all that backing up your design. So
yeah, and no one else can do that. So like we have a huge leg up on that. Abby, is there anything you want to say about Team 1?
No, I'm all with that. I think that the only other thing that I'll say is that that article that we've been putting together will finally be done, hopefully by the end of today. Zargam actually went through my quick paragraph description of the curve design and came up with some really awesome new diagrams, and kind of went through and just like threw it all down in a Google Doc for me. So I'll share that with the rest of the team and the rest of the group to it clears up a lot of things, I think, for me, and gives the design, sets the stage for the design for us to hack on it at the hackathon. So I think we're all good on that. I think you set the stage for us pretty well. I think it's just really that continuation of what we did in Denver, and making it like legit, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that I'll say is that when we scope out like what Team 2 is doing and how we combine them together, right? Because that's like the combination, and being able to show how they work together and really make sure that it's like a fluid system is going to be important. So I think that that's just the thing that we should know, scoping out like specifically what Team 1 and Team 2 are doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a good segue to Team 2. So Team 2 is really just doing the conviction voting preference engine. So this is a bold move for sure, but basically instead of doing a normal TCR, we do, and there's a Google Doc that kind of explains the detail and has some Zargam language math. But the idea is that you have, instead of just a token weighted vote, you actually add one more dimension into it, which is time. The time that your token weight has been behind a topic, behind an idea. So then the longer that your token weight sits in a proposal, sits in a vote, then the more power that it has, but that asymptotes out to a maximum amount of conviction, we'll say, right? So the biggest question I think that we have here, well, other than how possible is that to do with Level K's library? I think Mike and Emily could probably speak on that. But the other big question is, how do we lock tokens or not? In the actual implementation, we're hoping to find a way that we don't have to actually lock tokens, that the tokens have a time awareness on their own, and that when they move from address to address, then you can just kind of know that someone's vote is going to start like fading away. But that might be, that might be too hard for the hackathon, especially if we don't do a lot of work on it outside of the hackathon. So the big thing here is that we're going to break up the conviction voting design into two different pieces. So it's like the preference, where people use a token and they're voting and their token is weighted, to also the proposal side of things, where that's more Team 4's biz. And I guess I'll just describe Team 4 before I ask Mike to jump in, Mike and Emily, to explain Level K library. But Team 4 kind of does the proposal side. So taking a giveth milestone and turning that into something that you can vote on in the DAO, in the commons. And so like Team 2 will be putting making sure that tokens are weighted and voted, and they count for like how each proposal gets passed. There's kind of this trigger function, which is described in the document. And then that trigger function is kind of the like crossover between Team 2 and Team 4. I'm not sure exactly which team should do it. It's kind of like who's got more work to do should probably not do it. I think Team 4 would have more work to do, but I'm not really sure. So that's kind of like the line is one group's working on the preferences and the tokens coming in. The other group is working on the proposals coming in, and then they meet at like deciding which proposals get passed based off of the values that we care about. So maybe Mike and Emily, you guys could talk about your library and how easy you think it would be to implement this on top of it. Also, like in the real thing, I'm hoping that we do it on top of Aragon, but I assume that it's too much work to try to actually do it on Aragon.
Actually, we were just trying to deploy something on Aragon yesterday, and it is a lot of work. A lot of work. The library, as it's as easy to implement conviction voting as it is to code up conviction voting. So I feel like as long as we have like a solid, like, this is the logic, this is what it needs to do, we can put that into Solidity. One thing that the library does, though, it's like TCRs have challenges a lot of the time. And then, like, so the way it's coded up right now and the way our library works is like, it works like a normal TCR. You stake something to add it to the list, which could be 0 so that there's no stake. And then after a certain time period of waiting, there's an application period, then it's officially on the list. And there's a challenge mechanism, so someone can challenge I guess we call them listings for now, or an item actually. So we call them an item on the registry. Someone can challenge an item, and then that's how our library still works. You press challenge, and then the challenge would hook into a certain voting mechanism, which in this case could be conviction voting. But it sounds like maybe the conviction voting registry is a little different, in which it's not really a challenge period. It's just you're always being challenged, maybe based on how much tokens people are putting into the conviction voting for your item. So I don't know if challenge is relevant in this type of TCR.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's a different, I mean, technically a challenge could be relevant. Like if we're doing save the wildlife, right? Then like save the rainforest or save the elephants, and someone's like, "Yo, I wanna feed the homeless over in Barcelona." I mean, people might want to challenge that.
Okay, yeah, totally. So, and we made it broad enough. We're like doing a lot of extending that if there's no challenges, we can kind of like put something else together, cobble something else together, which is a different kind of more fluid registry. That would be fun. So yeah, it's all possible. I guess the sooner we know the exact design, the sooner we can really start thinking about it. That we have execution.
Cool. Yeah. Well,
do you have anything to say, Mike? Sorry.
No, I think that's a good point. Like basically the registry works now with it adds items by default. So like when anyone can add an item and it has to be challenged to be removed. And then we just have like a kind of arbitrary time that it has to be on the registry before it's considered accepted. And that's kind of like a fundamental part of the library, which we would have to change if we want to change that model. Other than that, like Emily said, we can just plug in any like voting mechanism. So we'd have to build conviction voting or use something that already exists for conviction voting, if that is a thing.
I wish. I don't think so. I don't think it exists yet. Although there is, I think that we can kind of rip off Mini-Me to take some of the like block-based time aggregation work off. At least Dargum and I were talking about that. So we'll see
Nice.
On the implementation side, like how exactly we make it work. But okay, so that's team 2, and then team 4 would really be focusing on how do we take a proposal on Giveth and make it be voted on. Right now, I think I'm hoping maybe Max can lead team 4. I'll talk to him more about it later. But we'll see exactly how that all shakes out. But team 4 is obviously the one that gets to show off like the wildlife part. And the dream for me, at least on team 1, team 2, team 4, is that we're all working on one project. It's all about scaling wildlife. But then, team 1 might be a little more broad, and it's just like kind of being used for scaling wildlife. And then, but team 2 and team 4, it's all about scaling wildlife, and that's fine. And then, yeah, and team 4 really gets to be the show off, you know, where it's like, oh, here's where things are actually happening. Look, we're gonna, you know, save the elephants, and we're gonna help the tigers, and we're gonna do all this, and then let's show how that works. So it's a really important team. Anyway, so that's team 1, 2, and 4. Maybe Roberto or Beth can lead the discussion on team 3.
Sorry, my thing is messed up. Sorry, it's like 7 a.m. here. I don't know anything about this at all. Roberto is planning it. So is he in here?
Yeah, I think so. I don't hear him yet, though. He's playing with mute.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, Roberto, your mic might not be working.
Yeah, maybe unplug the headphones. Maybe switch to Chrome. See what he's saying.
Hit refresh once. Helps too often.
Okay, so he's coming to the browser.
Just while we're waiting for Roberto, I just thought I would mention, I think we are going to have to rethink a lot of our TCR assumptions. I think conviction voting is going to be a little bit different from how we've thought about TCRs traditionally. So it is good to have those libraries for the resources, but there may be some parts that we have to kind of rethink and refit into the conviction voting scheme.
Hey guys.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, great. Sorry, I had to switch browser. So yes, team 3. What are we doing? The plan is, as you mentioned before, consider the commons of commons. So as with team 1, 2, and 4 are building, say, a DAO where with all the technology but is only inclusive of the DAO itself. So basically, the commons will work, but only for the people that are participating for that DAO. In the moment that we have multiple DAOs, the question is, how do asset and value that has been put into one DAO can be transferred to the other DAO? And so we're actually going to work onto creating a system that allows equal value transfer from one DAO to the other without having necessarily to pass through a monetary system, because that's where the commons will actually break. The idea there is that what we can do is basically track all the resources so that we're able to value them correctly, and then we will be able to transfer the value. We will sum it up as a value chain. We'll sum it up, and then in that moment we will do a conversion to whatever stable coin we want. But basically, the marketplace or the exchange would set up the price rather than we let the price be set by the market.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
Sure. Okay, let's say we want to trade apples and oranges, right? So if you have a DAO for the apples and a DAO for the oranges, internally we can call them commons. But as you actually want to trade between them, we will have to go through a pricing mechanism. And now we're letting the markets basically decide what this pricing is going to be. In the moment that we can actually trace what are the resources that are being put within to create an apple and the resources that are being put to create an orange, then we'll be able to actually have a pricing that is based on the value of the resource rather than just price setting. So in the moment, so we will be then able to, let's say, bring down to make explicit what is the, say, the stack of contribution that we will need to give to the people And as you make a transaction outside of the DAO to the other DAO, the marketplace would be this sort of a, overarching infrastructure or interface across the two DAOs that would be able to keep track of the resources that have been put into one and into the other, so that as they exchange, they will be assigned the same kind of value. For instance, if a person puts an hour in a DAO, then he can actually get the result of another DAO also for the same hour. So we're actually building the same interface across the two DAOs.
Okay, cool.
Brian, are you around by any chance? Maybe you want to add to that?
So yeah, it's like an example. It could be like a time banking model, I think, just based on what you said, or like a curated type model for like these these standards end up being the best standards, so they're implemented across the ecosystem or something. You can figure it out more details internally about like exactly how it's going to work and report back.
Yeah,
I mean,
it almost sounds like
we're gonna also figure out. I mean, we have some ideas also on how to demonstrate this. It's just that indeed, like, we need to also figure out a few steps on to how to click it. Well, basically, for now, let's just consider it as we do have the DAOs, we're actually creating a connection between them so that value can be interchanged. So that's more the purpose.
Yeah, I mean, it almost sounds like a DAO rating system, or like that then facilitates exchange and also like certifies, like, I mean, maybe like we have a wildlife DAO, but it's kind of a scam, versus like help homeless people DAO that's actually doing a lot of work, and maybe the wildlife DAO it has a really high price for no real reason. This DAO can kind of like, yeah, guess what? You should really sell those tokens because this homeless DAO is more valuable.
I mean, it could even be within the same thing, like in the national parks thing. It could be like, if there's one DAO for saving the wildlife and people contribute to that, but there's another DAO for like reforestation, then it's like, which of those, if there's money coming into like the national park, then should the money be going to like save this wildlife, or should it be going to save reforestation? Because, if the reforestation one is more, pertinent, because if not, then there will be a fire again this year or something like that. Like, I think it's like a way to figure out like how to allocate the funds within, the possible like directions of the funds.
Kind of sounds to me like a way to transfer value acquired by one bonding curve into another. And you can do that by assessing the reserves. So that sounds fairly feasible.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that pretty well describes it. Now we have, I believe we have a bunch of meetings this week with the organizers. The first one is actually Kai's, and Kai, maybe you can give us just a quick update. Do you know which track we're in officially?
So I'm a bit confused about that as well. So we applied for the inclusive banking thing and the Nature 2 thing, but there were 3 reasons, and I think that's part of the call to sort us into one of those. So you said we should preferentiate the Nature track, so that's what we will apply for at the call again. Like if they ask us where do you want to go, I think I'll go Nature 2.
Yeah, I mean, I would go even further and say, hey, actually, we need to be Nature 2.0, and Team 3 needs to be inclusive banking, and Team 4 needs to be scaling wildlife, and like push them a little bit to make that work. Otherwise, we'll just have to do a bunch of musical chairs things.
Okay. I do want to.
I've announced them already, so it should be fine. I've been in contact with them behind the scenes pretty much every 4 hours or so. So they're well aware of what's going on. They know to look at the sheets to see whatever the hell we're planning, because that sheet's liable to change. So just check it for the map, guys. And they're cool with it, man. They're being well kind and calm, and you know, they're stoked that so many people are playing a giant meta game in their hackathon. So they're being very flexible and accommodating, but we shouldn't take the piss either. So, you know, we should try to be as organized as we can be, but that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
I just want to say that I took the team captaincy here because time was an issue and not because I would make the best person to explain what we really want to do. So it's kind of like I took this as cat herding. And if anybody wants to take captaincy here, you're my guest. And I'm especially thinking like, because the next point is like juggling the teams. I think we should not do that yet because it might get too complicated. I would actually, if, you know, Mike or Emily can, you know, be there tomorrow, because it seems like we're working off your library, or we will be. And just remembering how awesome Mike was at Aracon, and what he said was his first big presentation. So I happily give the voice to somebody else and be like more on the organizing side and you know, integrating side, because also of like qualification, I'm more of like project management, making stuff pretty, you know, fixing little bugs kind of thing, not so much building the heavy shit.
Yeah, also, if we can get, I would love to have like maybe one more rundown before the call of what exactly it is. If it's just a TCR, it's just a TCR. I'm still a little vague on what exactly we're making. So yeah, if at some point we can cover that before the call, maybe just as a team or something, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I think that we do need to do a little bit of shuffling of teams so that we can actually break into teams and start talking about the nitty-gritty details without wasting everybody's time on those details. So this is why, like, because I know, like, for instance, Kai, you kind of have your old team, your address team here, right? And so I wasn't sure if you're trying to like make the address team one team, and then the TCR team would be like, there would be like the front end of the TCR, the preference engine of the TCR, and the give us side of the TCR, and like one team would just be address, since you guys already work together. So that's like kind of one question. And then, but then again, having you guys mixed throughout the stack is fine too, because those two teams, Team 2 and Team 4, are going to need to work really closely together. And then the other piece is like, we have a bunch of people who aren't devs that, you know, want to participate. And like, I'm not sure how, you know, I want to make sure that each team has a presenter, a designer, and a bunch of devs, you know? And so just making sure that all the roles are filled and that we don't have like, oh, this team is all devs, no one to present, you know? Or like none of the devs that want to present, you know, and just make sure that we have like clear roles assigned. And if some people want to switch teams, you know, and figure this stuff out, maybe we can do it in some other like asynchronous way, like preference voting, like who wants to be on what team. But yeah, it definitely needs to be done ideally today.
It seems like a good exercise. As far as my own team goes, it's awesome to have like the complete team here. It's really cool. There is actually Spawned already assigned to Team 2. The other ones would be Ome and Deem. And I really love this team, but I think that, like, as far as I'm concerned, I don't really care so much for the composition of the teams themselves, apart from having really a good presenter on every team, because that's like the official part. And I think because it seems to me like we'll be sitting at 2 or 3 tables next to each other and hopping chairs anyway. And I think the most important thing is like to have a good meta, like on the spot project management, so everybody always has something that is aligned with his or her talents and abilities. And I think we should try to be very fluid here and not so rigid. And we might get to a point where one team has not as a big workload as the other one, so we could switch, or one team could be 8 people. And I think the real team composition, like you said, again, comes down to somebody has to present this fully so it makes sense. And I feel like every team has somebody like that. But apart from that, it could be, like you said, a good experience for signaling preference and
I was going to just reiterate the point in the comments there, that anybody that wants to go but isn't kind of landing in right spots, I don't know who's here, I think everybody's in right spots, but provided we do some kind of a reshuffle and something happens, there are Jedi people, projecty types, so there's plenty of room for all.
Yeah, and I think every team has an empty spot. Well, I'm not sure about. Yeah, I'm pretty sure every team has 1 empty spot, and Team 4 has 2 empty spots. So, I mean, the preference is that we have devs, though. Like, devs kind of like trump the spots, as long as there's a presenter and a designer on every team. And one of those people is like a project manager as well. Like Abby is kind of all 3, presenter, designer, project management-ish.
Me too. That's why I think it's okay if I stay, at least for me, on Team 2. Like I can fill those roles. I would love more for Mike to present in the end because he's so awesome and he's a native speaker. But I would.
Are we limited to 1 presenter per team? Like at our hackathon here in Buenos Aires, like we all had a certain specialty in our project, and it was kind of fluid when we had a few presenters, and it kind of got to showcase a few people too. Or do they have a strict rule for 1 presenter per team?
No strict rules. It's just that there's got to be someone. There's got to be someone who can really explain the narrative and like give the story, and inspire people to want to give it the $10,000.
Yeah. That's important. Yeah. Like we had like a story person. I think, and when we did a group, it was me, and then we had a technical person, which was Mike, and then a demo person. I mean, it flowed, but yeah, just wondering if we have flexibility in that at all.
I think it always looks better when everybody presents, and it's like, oh, look at that team,
Yeah, there's a balance, I guess. But yeah, awesome.
Look at other people from other teams come. That would be funny.
Yeah, other team members come up. Let me show you about this part of it that I made.
Well, last year, the presentation were actually done at the table. You basically will have to present a sort of a hackathon canvas where you actually have the whole plan of execution and what it is exactly. And then you have about, I think, maybe 10 minutes or to go through it. So it's actually pretty tight. So if you have multiple people talking, they should be a little bit coordinated.
Did you say you have 20 minutes to talk about it?
10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay. Well, cool.
Including questions, so that's...
So is there anyone who really wants to switch the team that they're on? No?
I wasn't assigned to any team so far. Is Zoltan here?
I think Zoltan's going on team 4.
Team what?
I think you're going on team 4. Yeah. Oh God, Spawn's got him.
I'm good with any. I mean, 1 and 2 sounded most interesting, but if I'm more needed on 4, I'm good.
Okay, cool. Well, we can do like I'll figure out some kind of way that we can do a preference voting on Lumio. It shouldn't be too hard, and then we can put the pieces together. The big thing is just making sure that we have a project manager, presenter, designer roles defined, even if that's all the same person. The rest of it is all like dev. So, yeah.
I have a question concerning the presentations. Are they gonna, so different parts, will they be presented in the end as sort of like interconnected pieces of one big project, or are they gonna be presented as totally like separate projects? Because there might be some interdependencies, I think, certainly in the way it works. So that's if one team fails to finalize a solution, then maybe another team might not be able to do a demo, for example, or is it really gonna be like split up? How do you see that?
I think it's going to be pretty split up. I mean, at least the way these things are defined right now, it should be pretty easy for the preference voting, and the team 2 and team 4 are the most interconnected, right? And if team 4 can't figure out how to make milestones show up, then team 2 should still be able to vote on something, even if it just says like X, Y, Z, and that's, that should be possible. And if team 4 can get proposals to show up and and amounts to be triggered, then they shouldn't really need a complicated voting scheme to make it work. So I would think that they're separate enough that they can be presented separately, but at the same time, the main thing is that ODYSSEY was like asking for people to collaborate like this, so we're really fitting the bill. Yeah.
So I think there is kind of some overarching narrative that needs to be built around how these components fit together. I don't know exactly how that will come together, but I know Jan Peter is the leader of Nature 2.0, and he's very, very excited about getting this kind of project and these components, the publicity that I think that we'll be working on that kind of larger narrative as well, and find an appropriate way to present it through the conference.
I think something that would be valuable for all of the teams as we're now syncing and organizing internally is to almost put together like what their product specs are for their different components. So we can have like a really nice, awesome fleshed out doc that represents the overall goal, the overall narrative, and then specifically what this narrative is made up of. And we can all use that as reference going into continuing to exploring how we're building this. And then make sure that we're all developing under, that singular narrative, that singular, maybe even focusing on a similar use case for presenting. And then also seeing how interfaces build together and stuff. If we could create a fully functioning, end-to-end project by the end of this that works seamlessly together. I mean, like that's the ideal, So I think
that would really be helpful for me.
100%.
If we start putting that together. Because I'm still a little hazy on stuff.
Yeah, so I just put together like a framework for what that document could be. I know since my team is half of the teams from Denver, like we're kind of aligned. And so I can give like a framework for what that looks like. And then we can do sync calls this week, and hopefully by the end of the week kind of have a flesh out, these are the kind of what the agenda document has, but maybe just like a little bit more structured to say, this is a project scope, this is what we're doing these are our goals for the hackathon. And I think that will also help a lot of people figure out if there's any like shifting of teams that could help guide us. So let's focus on getting that together with like our individual teams. I know that team 2, I'd love to be on your call and just hear the way you're thinking, and hopefully maybe give some ideas, because we kind of like approach that sector a little bit in our hackathon project. So keep me updated when you're scheduling yours. And we can go through that and kind of get those specs together.
So if then maybe team 1 would like to do their call, and once they've done that, I'll start syncing team 1 and team 2 together and see what team 2 are doing for their call, come back to team 1 and just keep trying to close those loops as we go to 3 and 4.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Also, yeah, I had been thinking that same thing about like it would be helpful to be on the other teams, or I mean, not for everyone to have to be on the other teams' calls, but for people who are kind of like project managing. So if y'all could like post that schedule or like it recorded, or I guess I don't know. I think I always think it's annoying having to take a bunch of notes like during the call, but you know, whichever of those people would feel the most comfortable with, because I know that for our team, it's, you know, while it still seems kind of unclear to the people in the team and what's happening with the other teams, I think it would be really useful to understand what's happening with everyone. So if people would be down for others to listen in, I think that would be super useful.
That makes sense. Yeah, so if Team 1 does their call, maybe with team captains involved, and then when Team 2 starts going, we'll all link the same captains in, but then change the larger underlying body to the team kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and so Seth, that team's call schedule right now, those are like team calls with the organizers of Odyssey Hackathon. So that's like us telling them what project it is. But I would love to have a second calls with teams before those, like basically today, tomorrow, and the next day. Like it would be ideal if each team could actually schedule a call for their team before the organizing call. And then a lot of the team captains could be in all those calls. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of calls, but this is probably how we actually, you know, win this thing. So, so yeah, let's try to schedule calls. On Team 4, does anyone want to take the lead on Team 4? Like, I'm especially looking at like Ome or Max for. Hey, what's up, Ome?
Yeah, I wanted to mention something because I'm crazy busy at work this week. I'm having a hard time just to follow up in the chat, and even now in the discussion here, I have to be dealing with things at work. So I would like to know, and being honest, I won't be able to take very active role from now until a hackathon. So is that okay?
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
Thank you.
What about you, Max? Do you have much time to like help spearhead this?
I'd like to take some lead, but I don't understand it fully. So I want to talk with you before I commit to something.
Okay. Yeah, well, we have a call in like 2 hours, right?
Right.
Cool. So yeah.
One question is, like you said, I think that like Team 4 and Team 2 will be basically working as one team anyway, or yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, we could just combine those teams and have a really big team and do all the stuff together. But a team of 10 is a lot harder to manage than a team of 6.
No, don't do it.
Yeah.
No, it's just
too many cats, one basket.
Because it seems like all the teams have a pretty good foundation, like seeing, okay, Team 1 already ran at ETH Denver with the same topic. Team 2 is consisting of level K and building off level K's previous work. Team 3 is having their own plan already by Roberto, but Team 4 seems to me to be like this mix and match team where we put everybody that came kind of late to the registration. So I think Team 4 might be missing the clear picture the most, because there is nobody that came like with an idea to Team 4 and like, so this is Team 4, I have to plan, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Team 4 has the benefit that they get to build off of Giveth, so it's not like they have nothing, they don't have to show as much, you know, like pretty pictures. But yeah, it's at the same time still incredibly needed. And I think Max is an amazing leader, so I'm hoping that I can rally him up today, and then we'll bring in the crew. The Team 4 is kind of the Giveth side of things, so there would be a benefit, Kai, of you jumping ship over there too.
That's one of the reasons why I said like those teams should work together. It seems like it could really pay off good. It's not like that I have so much experience with the depth, but for sure, like Deem has the most experience here. I don't know. I'm not sure about Depline, how much he dabbled in the depth.
A little bit.
A little bit. And you're still on the team itself. Like, considering you might not take the Jedi role.
No, I definitely need to take the Jedi role so we can have extra space.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I'll probably end up putting a lot more time in this team than the other teams because they, depending on how things flow. But I'll be like a 7th member, you know. I might as well just be a Jedi and.
Sure.
Being a Jedi if you do that though.
Well, you know, I'll during the Odyssey hackathon I can go between teams, but like at before the hackathon, I'll just keep making sure this team is going. Okay.
Griff is a big fan of the rules, so.
What?
You're a big fan of breaking the rules anyway.
It's true. It's true. Okay, so we'll move on from aligning on teams and start kicking out the rest of the things. So discussing accommodation. I assume we could probably get a better deal with some big Airbnbs than hotels, right? Does anyone want a hotel versus an Airbnb? Like, can we just like kind of organize one or 2 or 3 giant Airbnbs?
That sounds so much fun.
Yeah. Is there anyone who's like, no, I definitely am going to want a hotel? So that we don't have to buy. So then you can have your own private hotel, and then we can just try to get 24 people in, or less than 24 people in Airbnbs.
We'll book out several of them.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine we can probably get away with 2. Because then we also have Chris, Jeff, Josh, and me. So that'll be 28 people.
And then we got to coordinate houses.
Who's gonna sleep anyway? So
I
you need an Airbnb.
Yeah, fights for the bunk beds as well.
A boat with 36 beds, bunk beds, but we get the whole boat for ourselves, for example. So there is definitely cool stuff here.
Wow, on a boat.
Bed boat.
I mean, the big thing is all we need is a shower, and then we go back to the hack, right? So, okay. Well, does anyone want to help me with the organizing of this, of like sleeping spots? Because it'll be a cat herding adventure.
I can help too, Griff.
Oh, nice. Okay, so everyone will pay for their lodging, of course. I hope that's cool and assumed. Okay.
On this note, I also want to say how to get there. Like, I repeat it again, it's not in Amsterdam, unfortunately. I wish it was. But it's in Groningen, which is 2 hours north of Amsterdam. It's almost the northernmost part of Netherlands. And it's very expensive and hard to fly to. So you should consider 1 day before, 1 day after, because the usual route is to go through Amsterdam, like fly to Amsterdam, then take the train. But we could also make a party out of it.
Yeah, for the record, the transport around the Netherlands is very good, so it's pretty easy to grab a train at most times, as I'm sure Jeff will tell you as well.
There is 40 running per day, I think, between the 2 cities.
Yeah. Okay. So we do this all the time with the Giveth with the lodging like spreadsheet that we will track like when people are arriving, when people are leaving, and make sure everyone has a bed and that kind of thing. And so we'll just make sure that the logistics are sorted. And that's like Griff, Josh, and Chris.
Yeah, on a note, let's do this as fast as possible because there are going to be like 1,500 people going to be there. So last year, the stuff went sold out very fast. So then you're going to end up into having a very fragmented location. So as soon as possible, would be great. Yeah.
Okay.
No pressure.
No pressure. Okay, cool.
Hey, Griff, question for this and actually for general organizing, because I see there are now 2 Telegram groups I'm in, but there are probably 2 more. So like, what do we do to like, for example, if we want to like notify people for organization or like these preparation calls that some people want to join for teams that they are not in and so on, do we create one joint Telegram channel or do we do it in the social coding group in Riot?
We have that joint Telegram channel called ODYSSEY Hackathon Organizing. And then I think putting it in this spreadsheet seems to be like, we have a list of video meeting calls. So I think putting it there probably makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Then Josh, could you add me to that channel? Because
you're not in that channel?
No.
You should be in that channel. It's ODYSSEY Hackathon Windows. Have you not been in there? No. Apologies if not.
No, I don't have it. Okay, thanks. If I'm the only one, perfect.
Okay, so then the next thing is Paris. So funny enough, we're just like on the ball for ODYSSEY, which is a month away. But in about a week, there's another hackathon in Paris. Is anyone going to that?
I am.
Yeah.
Wait. I guess I need names. So Kai,
Beth,
Sponnet.
Debline is also joining our team, Sponnet.
Great.
So Kai, Griff, Beth, Sponnet, Dapline. Anybody else going to be in Paris? No? Just those 5?
I wanted to be, but unfortunately.
Daniel, I think. Danny, are you going to be in Paris at the time? Yeah.
Daniel's a yes?
Not in Paris.
Man, I'm surprised. I thought there'd be more. Okay, well, that's definitely at least one hackathon team, if we want to hack. So, and I'm pretty sure we do.
Did anyone already receive their confirmation for Eat Paris? Because I haven't up to now.
No, they are so slow. I don't know. I checked the website yesterday. I actually checked if there was an info on when they would announce. So this is a very good question because Abby, you applied for ETH Denver. I don't know who did. Like, when did you get confirmation? Or one question is, should we just book stuff and assume we get in?
I applied for ETH Denver the day before, and I was there, so it was okay.
Yeah, I feel like they're open about it. I know that I heard back from them, and I applied like a month earlier or something. But I feel like they can't really turn you away. You know what I mean? If it was like Denver, I think it's very much so kind of like open. So I'd go for it.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, unfortunately.
He walks in doors that are just open.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Lorelai already booked a place for me, so we'll just all do our own separate houses or whatever. But yeah, it's from the 8th to the 10th, and then after that, I'm going to Barcelona. So, and all are welcome. I think we have a pad now.
Woo.
Let's see. And so there's another thing that should be mentioned, which is Unblocked. I don't know if anyone's going to that conference. It's not a hackathon, but it's in Vienna, and Zarkum will be there.
Actually, I just spoke to those guys today, and it turns out Zargum is not going to be there until the week after to coordinate with the University of Vienna crew. So I spoke with them. They said it's not going to be such an emphasis on token engineering per se, but more on hacking like the SDGs and sustainable development using blockchain. So it'll be a very interesting conference for sure. But I don't think Zargum will be in attendance until a week after that.
Okay, nice. Yeah, and around that time before Odyssey, there, depending on how things go with the real project, there might be like a team meeting in Barcelona right before Odyssey. So, which people who want to join the real project might attend. But this is still early days, so I won't know about that for a little bit. But right after Odyssey, there's ETH Cape Town. Is anyone going to ETH Cape Town?
Jeff's in.
Reach out to Mr. Liggy because he wanted to possibly go there and possibly Africa burn. So I don't know your plans, but it could be a good opportunity to like get him closer. I love that guy.
Yeah, for sure. No, Liggy, I talked to Liggy about Africa burn. He's in.
I'm super into that too.
Yeah, Abby?
I was thinking about that, and I needed an excuse to be there, so.
Yeah, ETH Cape Town happens like a week before Africa Burn, so it's like ETH Cape Town, then a week, and then Africa Burn. So, but
right, well, maybe that's my excuse.
yeah, I mean it's going to be epic. Like it's going to be a great conference. So, and South Africa is really cheap. It's a sweet spot.
Cape Town is the most beautiful city in the world.
There you go. Okay, so not many people going to Cape Town. But there were more, right? Josh, you had a few others?
Yeah, hold on. I got a list over here. And okay, so that's one wrong list. Let's go to the other more correct list. There's ETH New York, May 17 to 19th. I believe Bowen said he'd go to that. There is ETH India, August the 2nd to the 4th. And there's ETH Boston, September, ETH Waterloo 2 in October. So I'm just going to copy a link here, link address, and come back over here. Paste it in here.
And there's at Berlin as well in August.
And if you go and check that, you'll get the dates and the things from the people. So yeah, there's 4 of them that are kind of getting planned by the ETH Global crew after Odyssey. So something to think about and food for thought. Not necessarily something we need to get on right this second, but definitely something worth thinking about.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And so those are there. The next thing is preparation. How do we prepare? Who wrote this, and does anyone have anything they want to say about it?
It was me, and it's basically, I mean, we are dealing with a lot of complex topics here. So apart from having an overall system design, preferably a full system flow with diagrams and all that, that's one preparation thing, like model our system beforehand, because it's really, really, really complicated. Is there anything like technical that we should look into, like maybe helper frameworks or libraries? We talked about level K's library, for example. I saw Portis mentioned in the ETH Denver thing. Yeah, so it's an open question from my side, like how is there stuff we should get familiar with way before the event? Please speak, Seth.
Cool, yeah. So Corey, I don't know that he's on this call, but Corey and I are going to be revamping State Sauce, which is a framework I developed for DApp development. It just helps with like interacting with contracts and gives you like a reactive data store. And yeah, we'll probably generate some docs so that other teams can use that for the hackathons. And then, yeah, there are plenty of research topics outside of, front-end stuff that we definitely should look at.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that we do not use Aragon for these hackathons, but that is an option, especially for conviction voting, just because they solve a lot of the DAO stuff, but it comes with a lot of baggage.
It's I just in general want to get like on board with like how we the stack that we use, because if we find a framework that does something, it's of course always speeding up things considerably. And it doesn't matter if it's like Ethereum based, or if it's something for the front end, or if it's something, you know, middleware. I don't know. So whatever comes to mind, especially from Team One, what they used on, or if they want to keep growing on that stack from ETH Denver. And I also want to invite everybody to like the Giveth forum, where there is a token engineering section, and we can, like, if there is long form, you want to post something long form, like have a discussion about some paper or whatever, just go to forum.giveth.io, sign up, and
I want to co-op that. I want to co-op that because we were already making, at least for the token engineering stuff, we were already making a connection with the crypto economics guys, Carl Flourish, and his crew, to post on their forum, which is cryptoeconomics.study. They're super stoked about this whole project. I pitched it to them last week, basically. So they're really excited about what we're doing. So it's definitely a friendly place where a lot of other people will see it. And so if we do want to go forum long posts, I hope that we go. I'd hope we do it there. Sorry to do that to you, Kai.
Sure, whatever. As long as the info is out.
I want to rip off Kai though, and suggest everybody comes to the Riot channels anyway, because there's so many telegrams and riots and everything across everywhere, and it's just so much easier to talk in social coding. Just a thought. I'd love you all to come to social coding though.
Yeah, let's get a link to social coding.
Could anyone maybe get a sharing link for this document? Just pasting it here in the chat. It's one of the documents that's referred to from the conviction voting module. But it's not open apparently, and so I need to request access.
Okay. Let me see.
Anybody could.
That is Sargam's document. He approved me pretty quickly when I requested, but I think he's a bit picky with his permissions, so I'm not sure what it is. Just request viewing permission.
Yeah, I hit request, so I'll just wait for a while. No problem.
Yeah, I mean, we can also make a copy of that. It's nice that they're working in it, but I'll try to get them to open it up too, because, like, come on. They have a very closed, you know, they work on closed source code, man. Companies, I tell you, so weird. But anyway, okay, well, this meeting went on for a long time, so we should probably close it there. I don't know if everyone had all their answers answered, so let's go in the Telegram group and ask more questions, and I'll try to, at least action items that I see here, I need to create some sort of role sheet for each team. I think that'll just happen in the hackathon team sheet. Chris, Josh, and I will try to organize a place for us all to sleep during the event, and like herd the cats around, like when you're getting there and when you're leaving. Were there any other action items? Oh, team meetings.
I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, basically, each team needs to actually schedule a meeting between now and the team and the meeting they're going to have.
Yeah, and I think that in addition to those team meetings, we should create a general product spec document that I could craft the framework for, right? That we can all be filling in with, like, this is our spec, this is what we're going to be building after we do, alongside of when we do this team sync calls.
Okay, so team product spec, team meetings. Yeah, Omay?
Question, I have to run now. What is the best way for me to stay in touch without being able to be constantly following up on everything that is being done?
Social coding, tie in with me. Anytime you want anything, I'll keep an eye out, and I'll be on all these channels. So just ask me in social coding, and I will answer you.
Okay. For the coordination, for me to know who I'm going to be working with, is there going to be the spreadsheet, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll keep an eye on that and try to stay up to date with the comments in the chat. I'll try to attend to the other video calls before the hackathon. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all, and see you soon.
Yep. See, yeah, unless there's any other agenda topic action items that people think are needed, we can all say goodbye to.
Just that we should start a doddle for next week and a sync for then, because we need to do that at some point, and giving plenty of lead time is good.
Awesome.
Okay. Cool. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
See you soon.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.